Good evening.
Hey, everybody.
Everybody. Hmm. No, somebody.
Just 1 week. Neutrogena.
Hey, baby, lay down. Lay down. Lay down.
Okay, we're going to Huntington House
Huntington House.
because it's a big house. The room is master.
Hi, John. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All righty. Great.
Loud and clear.
How good is this?
Feels great.
Feels great. Very excited for you and your future, and excited to see what family memories you come up with in your new house. Cheers. Cheers to you.
Thank you. We chose Huntington House.
That is trace 3.
I'm not sure how I became a co-host, but I absolutely don't want to be one.
And we don't want you to be one.
You've been
Be the
rejected.
moderator either.
You've been rejected. Don't worry. Or Jen is the co-host. I clicked on the wrong, obviously the wrong person, wrong participant.
The wrong Georgette.
Yeah. It could be.
Uh,
All right, let's see.
One, 2, 3. So we're missing Mary and Rob
That's not Mary.
and Eva. Oh, Mary's here.
Rob will not be here.
And so just Eva, right?
Eva said she might be late, remember?
Yes, she did say she might be late.
Okay.
What did I do with the dang?
Huh?
Yeah, really. Dang it. There it is. Wait. We'll get started in just a moment, everybody. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
welcome everybody to the June Town Council meeting. Rob Gilmore had a had a medical emergency, not him, and he won't be at the meeting, so we'll be working with everybody else. I think everyone else is here. Eva said she was on her own with the kids and would get on as soon as she hypnotized them to sleep. Right. We all know how that is.
Right.
Many of us know how that is. So,
All right. Motion to approve the agenda.
You think that's the next step? Okay.
Isn't that the next day? I don't know. Yes, it always has been.
He didn't
Yes.
really officially call it to order.
Yes,
Oh.
I officially called the meeting to order.
Please do.
So I'm gonna show the agenda and just go run through a few minor adjustments that were made that in the interim since the last one was posted. You should be viewing the agenda now. I finally found out it was Chris Blosky, who is in the Kudos area. Music Weekend, June 22nd and 23rd,
Mhm.
not the 15th.
Yes.
15th.
Yes.
And lastly, I added under new business this item, flexibility to schedule the annual
Mhm.
town meeting, proposal to change the town charter to allow the town council to schedule the annual election and annual town meeting anytime on the second Saturday of May. I added this as a just as an indication that it'll be that I don't think we're not really prepared to propose an exact charter change, but wanted to get it on here for a future council meeting. So as I said here in this edition, proposed as a future agenda item. This putting it on the council's radar. So those are the only changes that I put on. So the agenda's open to any additional comments from anybody.
Isn't somebody supposed to second my motion?
No. Yes.
No?
Of course they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't
Liz-
allow second, from the town meeting, I don't allow seconds.
Where's that Robert Rules guy? When you need-
This is Barbara, second.
That's great. All right. All right. So it's been seconded. All right. Any comments on the agenda then?
No.
If not, all in favor of approving this agenda?
I,
That's all four of you. Fine. Thank you. I'll remove that. And we'll move on to personal appearances, public appearances. As always, anybody who is here and has a public appearance on a subject that's not on the agenda, this is your time to speak. If it is on the agenda, we'll be sure to recognize you at that time. Anybody here?
Yep.
Anything to appear about? Okay, terrific. Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, hey, it's Liz. I just had something to say.
Yeah, okay.
I was just going to suggest that if we have the chat function on during a meeting, that it should be archived. But if you guys prefer not to have the chat as a distraction, then it should be disabled, because people will use the chat. And then if, it's, now we can see the transcripts from the meetings and read minutes, but I think that the chat should also be archived.
I should have disabled the chat between attendees. The only chat allowed is to the hosts and
To the
co-hosts.
host.
I believe
Okay.
that's
All
what
right.
have approved. Yeah, it is a distraction. I mean,
Yeah, that I just checked. It is. So yeah, good. Okay, thanks.
okay.
That's
So-
it.
All right, thank you, Liz. Any other personal or public appearance here?
Well, can I make a personal thing?
No.
I'm taking off my hat. Yes, I can. Can I? I just want to, what?
This is really for others, but go ahead.
Well, there aren't any, are there any others? This is just about those, I forget the name of those flies. This is really the Patty and Georgette, but it's a town thing. Because I saw that thing that went on listserv today about those invasive flies.
Lantern flies.
Thank you.
That wasn't one here though.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to say that at my house in Mount Airy over the last 2 weeks, I didn't know what they were, but there are hundreds of them all over the place. I mean, everywhere. They're all over me. It's like unbelievable. And I sent a picture out. So I'm just, hoping that we're okay. But Patty and Georgette and Joan.
They've been moving southward for years. They were all over
Oh, really?
Philadelphia about a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
They have
I'm
an
done,
entire
John.
program in Pennsylvania. It hasn't worked.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm done, John. Thank you.
Okay, right. So in addition to the lightning bugs, we're gonna have lantern flies. I'm sorry, I shouldn't joke about a serious ecological issue, but what else can we do? All right, so we'll move from public appearances on to the treasurer's report that was in the materials. Jean is here to talk about the financials. Jean?
Yeah, other than the comments that are embedded in the report, the only thing I'll mention, we're humming along well with revenue coming in as expected. So that's always a steady flow, but you want to keep your eye on it. As to the expenses, as is the trend, many areas are under budget and some are getting close to being where, the whole budget might be used up by June. So I'll be keeping an eye on each category. Is for Chris and any others who might not remember, we can't go over budget in any one major area without an ordinance. I don't anticipate that situation happening, but I'm going to keep my eye on a few particular areas. Just, I don't think we'll have a problem, but got to watch it. We have one more month to go. And it's particularly in the recreation area. The 150th ate up a lot more expense of the budget than anticipated. It was offset with the revenue that came in on the t-shirts and whatnot. But it does sort of impact that budget. And we're headed into the season, the last month, when the salaries kick back in for the summer and the tennis workers. Summer in parks is not until July. So that's good. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. but overall, I think we'll be fine. I just want to keep an eye on that. And that is really the key points I wanted to point out for
Good
this month.
question. What do you mean by a major?
Oh,
You-
so if you look like within recreation,
All right,
that is considered a major area where it says like there's a grand total there. Historic preservation is a key area. The lake, the parks, and the financial administration, executive, those are considered the key areas. And
so it's not, oh, so major, you're referring to the expense, not to the total amount, like 10% over is major, 7% is okay. That's not what you're saying.
No, you're
Oh,
not.
okay,
Yeah, you've got to stay within the major areas. So each line,
okay.
can fluctuate.
Uh-huh.
And as you see, the 150th is, eating up, whereas there are like family programs hasn't been spent. Labor Day was not spent, but we have the art night was unplanned, and the 150th went higher than budget, even though it was covered by revenue. We don't want to see total recreation go more than 25,000.
Uh-huh. Okay. And just one other question for the committees, if we have money budgeted for this year, is there any way that if we have a project we want to do that's under 5,000, is there a way to begin that and carry over those funds or not?
You can't carry over any funds, no,
You cannot, and there's no way of doing that.
no,
Okay, thanks.
yeah.
The only way it carries over is if we commit the funds to a, not necessarily a contract, but often it's a contract. So for example, we're going to do that. We may end up doing that for the road work. If
But
the work isn't done until July, we will never execute a contract before the end of the fiscal year.
But we do usually get an invoice, like with the road work last year when we had the same situation. We did get a starter invoice that showed that there was some work done in that fiscal year. And that allowed us to use that year's budget. And then the subsequent year went to the next. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And that's really the amount of attention, I think. I know we have a full agenda. I don't want to belabor this too much. Any other questions?
Okay. If not, we need a motion to accept the May treasurer's report.
I'll move, Mary.
Second, Peter seconds.
Seconds. All in favor? That's 4. All right. Treasurer's report is accepted. Next item of business, which I moved up, but I meant to move it down. Sorry. We'll just handle it. This is the March 25th minutes, which were in the materials. Barbara pointed out one editing error. The meeting started at 7:30, not at 6:30. I made that change. We need a motion to approve the March 25th minutes. And if you were not there, if you were not on the council like Chris, you can abstain from this, because what do you know about the March 25th minute meeting?
So moved, Barbara.
Thanks, Barbara. Second.
Mary.
Very thanks. Any other comments? Hopefully you had a chance to read it.
Mhm.
All in favor of approving the March 25th minutes? Thank you. That's 3-0, 3-0. I had hoped to have the April 16th meeting minutes, but I don't. We had
My bad. I'm sorry. I don't, I don't know what happened.
fell through the cracks.
They walked out of my office.
Kathy was very efficient with the May 21st. But I haven't had a chance to finish them, and you know that the May 21st minutes were just a week and a half ago, 2 weeks. I'm sorry, 2.5 weeks. So we'll handle those in July, I trust, plus the minutes for today's meeting. Okay, move on to the mayor's report. Well, I'm happy to be able to hand out a bunch of kudos for this past month. We'll start with the town's Weed Warrior Work Party, who worked with natural resources specialists from Montgomery Parks in the conservation meadow along Ridge Road to remove unwanted, I call them unwanted, they're really non-native invasive plants, and did a yeoman's job. They're going to be planning additional efforts in the future, I believe, but to all of the 14 resident volunteers who were there, that's a fantastic turnout. And they owe, we all owe them our gratitude for their volunteer efforts. Then I have to mention one of the council members, Peter, as well as the other organizers and contributors to Circle Fest 2024, which was hard to believe, but it was better than last year even. That's not to say last year wasn't great, but they outdid themselves this year. And the town certainly appreciated it. There were a lot of people attended Circle Fest. And this is, you know, as long as the Circle people are willing to volunteer their time and organizational efforts, then this is a great annual event in the making. So terrific, guys. Much more recently, with the weather that generated the tornado near the town, we also had some limbs and what have you down, but Bruce Rothrock, Terry Cox, Phil Mendo, Bruce Price, and Chris Blosky went out to the lake to clear some tree damage. The limb fell. I think, and I'm not sure whether an entire tree was affected, but they took it upon themselves to clear that up. And that was another great volunteer effort. Kudos to you guys for doing that. And lastly, just a, you know, another example, and you know, every month a lot of these, you know, resident efforts go unrecognized, but you know, when I know about them, I try and mention them. So I think Peter wanted to be sure we knew that Steve Wertz and Terry Cox repaired a damage to the tennis net on the clay court just this past week. So that means they continue to be usable. We don't have to hire somebody to come out and do it. So thank you, Steve and Terry. Not on the list of kudos, but something that you know, should be mentioned, was suggested that I be sure and mention, and that is that in the playground, the very, you know, extensive list of sort of updating and improvements to the playground, not including playground equipment per se, but the access, disabled persons' access to the playground equipment was improved dramatically by the work of RJ, and that is at the behest of you know, with Eva involved and the playground group. So we address some of these things where we're not perhaps as proactive as we ought to be, and you know, Barbara is kind of, that's one of her things she looks for. But this you know, service by RJ Landscapers is a good example of the kind of thing we want to do wherever it needs to be done. Okay, just an announcement. I hope no one needs to hear, though we have Music Weekend coming up. It's been set. It will happen on Saturday, June 22nd, Sunday, June 23rd. It was a schedule appeared, I think, in the bulletin. We're going to send out a Grove alert. There's been some alterations to the schedule, some finalized activity, so everybody should look for that. Something I hope everyone knows about is that a new email address is now available to a one email address that will deliver your letters to the mayor and the town council. It forwards to all of us. It's on the website. Christine's made it. I think it's on the front page, so everybody can see how to go about that. It's mayor and town council at WashingtonGrove, Maryland.org. So that's going to mean it also will go to Kathy, and it will also go to Christine, since she's the web master, and she will post those appropriate communications. So that should happen efficiently, and we think this will be a better way for everyone to get to the council and the mayor. Next item is the shared use pathway liaison report. I didn't actually get a report because actually nothing material has happened, except that the county council passed the fiscal 25 budget, which includes their capital improvement plan, and the Washington Grove connector is now explicitly mentioned to be funded in fiscal 25 for construction. If they get to the construction point, that will only happen following further engineering and a mandatory referral to the planning board, which the DOT, the Department of Transportation, was aiming for October. Maybe they can get it there earlier, and then that meeting in front of the planning board is also the time for public comment on the proposed design and detail that will be presented.
So John, should we give kudos to you and Barbara and whoever else was involved?
Not yet. I mean, yeah.
Well,
you know, this is one of those things that stretches out on and on. Yeah. We'll accept it because we got into the FY25 capital budget plan.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's touch and go whether construction will actually start in fiscal 25. We would love for that to happen, but you know.
But we plan to keep after them with all the stuff they have to do before all their permitting and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll try and shorten the required steps to get it to construction, but there's only so much we can do, and you know, we can't promise to be able to do that. All right, the next item, and this is actually relates to one of the remaining basic recommendations. The Heritage Emery Grove reportedly has received their tax exempt status, so it's now official from the IRS. There was a little bit of mention of the revenue for the 150th. The poster, as you all hopefully recall, the poster that was created by Craig English. Craig donated his time to create, And the committee came to the council and asked that any profits from the poster be donated to Heritage Emery Grove. At the time, and when that was approved last year, but it was not going to happen until they got their tax exempt status. Now, that's kind of a small thing to report. I think Heritage Emery Grove and the town, certainly me, would like to make this a small event. When we, rather than just send them the check, would like to make it an event. That's going to be part of a meeting I'm setting up with Heritage Emery Grove and Reverend Tim Warner, who's kind of a principal. You will, all of you should know that Heritage Emery Grove was actually a nonprofit created to as a locality a group to advocate and participate in renovations in Emery Grove that were planned when a developer planned a lot of housing in that area. Multi-use housing is going to be, I think, replaced by some new construction. The housing commission of the county is on board with this, and also others in the county. So that's in the planning and in process. We would like to, as a town, because now that they're going to do that work, it's an excellent time to reach out, as as suggested by RASIC, to involve both Heritage Emery Grove and the as well as the Amity community in any input, any help there, or any improvements that might be involved in access to the new bike, the Washington Grove connector that will eventually be built. So coming in from those sides of town, there could be improvements. For example, from Emery Grove, which is on the other side of Mid-County, a safe bike path, at least on Washington Grove Lane, could be implemented. That would be a county effort, but that would take bikes and maybe multi-user involved. Might also involve sidewalks to bring them to access the Washington Grove connector through the town. So involving them in this, so the discussions I hope to have, will also touch on aspects of town activities and neighbor activities that we can work together on. All right. Lastly, on my report, we are the next town meeting is going to certainly be a hybrid meeting. Now, in order to do that, we need to have hybrid meeting technology in place that works, that will adequately allow communication with the virtual participants, both visually and orally. And to do that, one of the obvious ways to go is to start with smaller meetings and get this worked out. So I've committed the council to work this out. So I'm kind of a heads up to the council. We're going to need to hold an in-person hybrid meeting in the near future. in person being, we will meet in person, and anyone who wants to come in person, like in the old former times, can come to the council room. But we will also have available the technology so that the remote and virtual participants will be present as well. To do this, I met with the Montgomery Municipal Cable people last week to look at the council room and also the hall, and discuss what we would need. And they made some recommendations as to what sort of equipment we ought to start with. It's pretty simple to start, and once we have a meeting, and we may start with a committee meeting and then move on to a council meeting, then we can improve on any deficiencies that crop up in practice. So that's coming up fairly quickly. I'd very much like to get that in place. I also want to say that for the town meeting next May, Montgomery Cable has agreed to come out and actually run the hybrid meeting themselves, as well as video it. So this is a heads up. Obviously, the council ought to formally approve that, but that will simplify making it a workable and efficient hybrid meeting. And that's all. That's the end of my report. I don't see any questions or comments. Then we can move to administrative matters. The first thing on the under administrative matters on the agenda is the stormwater infrastructure maintenance RFP. You'll recall at the May meeting, we discussed in the council consensus agreed that the timeline for submissions would be extended. We'd initially put the RFP out with the deadline being for this meeting. But that turns out to have been very overambitious, given the amount of time contractors needed to put together proposals and the time we needed to have a site visit. So we agreed to a new timeline, and I'm going to just show it here so everybody knows what's coming and can think about this. Okay, so what you should be seeing is, and I put this into the materials, and I apologize for not being there earlier. This is actually a document that I sent to all of the interested contractors, which totaled seven different ones, and it provided answers to some questions that were asked. You can read those for yourself. I'm not going through this, and it also included notes from the walkthrough, so to elaborate on some of the specific features of the various areas that the town that the RFP requests design build proposals. So you can look at that, but it has the submission timeline. I hope you can see this. The final questions were due last Friday. There were none, so the response, I don't have to rush to get any responses out. The new deadline for the proposals is Wednesday, July 3rd, so that nobody has to leave it and work through the holiday weekend. Our council meeting is July 8th, I believe. Is that right? Yes, it's July 8th. And in the RFP, we put a provision that those who bid may be asked to appear before the council for any questions, or a question and answer session in front of the council. So once we get the bids, and we can choose to do that or not to do that. But what we're expecting are in the bids is some concept drawings for
Mhm.
each of the areas we requested that the contractors choose to bid on. And those concepts may form the basis for looking closely as what the work that each of them are proposing there and what it might look like. So if the council agrees that it may want to have an opportunity, and it would, anyone attending the council meeting obviously have the opportunity to question the contractors on their proposals for this work. So I'm kind of suggesting that we may actually schedule that either at the council meeting, and we could do it the July 8th meeting. In fact, but in any event before the August meeting, so that we can move to award the contract in August. So I kind of put in here the balance of July for a Q&A session. If it's not at the council meeting, then I would ask the council to schedule another council meeting in July to specifically address the proposals for the stormwater RFP.
John, this sounds like awfully iffy of when it's happening and whether it's going to happen. It's kind of getting late. Shouldn't we just make a decision and do it and pick the date?
No, none of that. All of this is perfectly timely. So remember, the nature of our deadline is we must have the funds committed to be expended by the end of the calendar year.
Yeah.
This timeline has the award of contract or contracts, however many we do, August 12th. That's way in advance of the deadline. I mean, even it takes multiple weeks to sign the contract, we should be, as long as we've expended the ARPA funds, we are fine. So I think we're okay. I think this still leaves plenty of time. In fact, it could be pushed back. Not that I'm thinking it will, but I think we're in good shape. I do want to be sure that the work that gets done is not a surprise to anybody. They have an opportunity to see what's going to be done.
No, I think the schedule looks great. I'm just thinking that if we're going to do this, why don't we just put it, make it firm it up? As far as I'm just talking about,
July 8th only. The agenda actually has that. Establish the award process.
I'm just talking about the invitation, July 8th, that meeting. That's all I'm talking about right now.
Okay, the reason I'm hesitating on we certainly do that. We can certainly do that. I mean, if the bids are due by July 3rd, they ought to be prepared to give a brief overview and then be available for questions at that meeting. And we could certainly decide tonight that that's what we're going to do. I don't know what the agenda of July 8th looks like. And this could take either a short time or a long time. So I'm just a little bit hesitant to load up the July 8th council meeting with stormwater management action, but we could play it the other way around. We could definitely do any Q&A session on July 8th, and then any business we don't get done, we would have to schedule another council meeting or defer it till August. So it's up to you guys. I did think, from July 3rd to the 8th is, we have our council meeting the Monday after the July 4th holiday. So if anybody has to do any preparation, including any on the council, including the mayor, it will be over that weekend. So that I was kind of thinking, okay, we could just schedule a meeting, say July, but I'm making this date up, July 16th or whatever, for a question and answer session. So why don't we come, you want to think about that for a bit? We'll do this at the end of the meeting. To defer deciding exactly how to do this. One of the reasons for this is, the town almost never, perhaps never, has spent $500,000 or $600,000 in a contract at one time. So that's a lot of money, and I think we need to, not have enough time to do that, and enough information, and do our best to ensure we get what we expect.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just make a quick comment, just for thought?
Who's that?
This is Patty. I'm sorry, you can't see me. Pat Klein.
I'm gonna stop this time.
Oh, that's okay.
Go ahead.
Actually, seeing the dates was actually a good visual aid. So just a thought for you, council, to consider. You might want to have the regular council meeting on that July 8th, and then have a separate special council meeting, whatever you want to call it, to just deal with the stormwater management, so that it'll give you some breathing space. And my point added to that is, I know, John, you're talking about having the bids back by July 3rd. That's only in a couple of weeks from now, including the holiday, or just before the holiday. Do you want to give the bidders an extra week to get their bids in?
Oh, I think they now have had, they expected it to be in front of this meeting. They made a convincing case that they needed to consult and recruit subcontractors, and that the extra time would be helpful. So in the interest of getting their best proposal this month, this additional month, they've had an additional month, remember? Even though, so it's, I think are going to have had plenty of time. So
Well, only because you're going to just send out the responses to those questions tomorrow. So
I sent out what you saw. I sent out 2 weeks ago now, week and a half ago, 2 weeks.
But wait, it couldn't have been, because we just had wasn't it last week we had the other 3 bidders come?
Yes, and I sent it out like 2 days after that.
Okay, just checking, just trying to.
It's on the 19th. I believe we had the last one on this.
It was
on the 29th, and I sent that out on the 1st.
Oh, okay, so then.
I mean, the 31st.
Okay. As long as the bidders have all the answers, and then they can work on this stuff.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so where are we? That's all I have to say about that, unless anybody has any additional questions.
John, this is Bob.
Yep.
I was thinking that it may not be easy to compare what they submit, the submissions. And I think it would be important to have presentations, not just sort of questions, but presentations by maybe the 2 or 3, so to speak. So it may make sense to go through their submissions and then pick a couple of them and then require them to come and present on a day.
Right. Well, I thank you for elaborating on that. By having it on a separate meeting, we can certainly not feel pressed for time, and allow for a presentation, especially if it will help understand what appear to be the most promising submissions. I think that's what you're
saying. I don't think you want all of them presented.
No, we certainly don't. That would be a formidable meeting.
Yeah, thanks.
So Bob, so you're talking about, but would there be a prior selection process?
Yeah, I mean, if you get them in on the 3rd, then you
right.
start looking at them and meet on the 8th, you can potentially weed out some and then give them invitations either to all, set one day to have all three of them come in sequentially, so to speak, and give
Mhm.
presentations of their solutions, because their solutions are going to vary.
Right.
We expect.
Because it's a design build, the solution will vary, and they will have to sort of convince you of the appropriateness of their solutions.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody that's in the running is given a chance. So is given a chance to do the presentation. Otherwise, it would be an unfair advantage.
No, that's not necessarily unfair. This happens, in the real world all the time, is that there's a prior selection and then there's a best and final kind of thing that.
Right. Yeah, so all of the people in contention will present.
That's not what I'm thinking, but if
I'm
you
hearing
want.
you say that. That's why I want to be clear on this.
It's not what
No.
he's,
No, well, okay, well, what you get, you have 7 or so, you may get 6 bids, I don't know, 5 bids. Whittle it down to say 3.
Right.
And say all 3 will give presentations, yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's what
And the
I'm,
other ones have been kicked, and the other ones have been kicked. So so there's a down select already.
yeah, that's what I'm.
And do we know how we're doing that down select? Well, we better, because this is contracting.
we have some criteria in
Yeah.
the RFP.
Okay.
So we have explained. But of course, the criteria that are listed include, the town reserves the right to, award the contract based on, the one providing the best solution.
That's value.
Best value, that's right. And that
Yeah.
allows you to do anything. As long as you've got a, obviously we're gonna
Right.
have a reason for doing it.
Mhm.
It's like we have not often, but we have awarded contracts not to the lowest bidder because
Yeah.
for other things.
Mhm.
Because we believe the value was higher with a higher bidder.
Isn't Soltes gonna be on standby? We have some questions as well and helping us.
I hadn't thought that far along, but I think once we get they're certainly on standby once we get the proposals to help us,
Okay.
look at them. That I certainly
Mhm.
think that's what we anticipated.
Right, that's what I meant.
Good.
Okay. Right, somewhere here I have the agenda. Okay, so next item on the agenda on the administrative matters are several appointments. I'd like to propose appointing Jeff McCrean to the Planning Commission as a full member. Now, the last time we appointed him as the alternate, but Sung Chang is going to be leaving the Planning Commission, and it's convenient now to do that as of today, or as of the next meeting for the Planning Commission. And so I'm proposing appointment that Jeff be moved to a full member, and just to complete the appointment is Bob Kristen, who is on
Mhm.
call here.
Yes.
With Georgette has done all of the field work here to identify Bob as being interested in the Planning Commission.
Mhm.
For those of you who don't know Bob Kristen, you may not know him. But he's lived in the Grove a long time. I'll let him confirm how long that is. Bob, if you're on, just
I
give
think
us
it's-
just a very brief.
I think it's been 42 years.
Yeah, I knew it was a long
Now
time.
that I've been retired for a few years and the grandkids are getting older, I've run out of excuses not to pitch in.
Mhm.
I think Georgette recognized that and suggested I could take my turn on the commission. So
Right.
here I am.
So we all know Bob as Ed. That's how he's known in the Grove.
Yeah,
That's what Frankie's dad,
yeah.
Yeah. Frankie's said.
grandfather, father.
Grandfather, okay.
And Bob is a lawyer, so you might second guess that one. But he was a lawyer for the federal government for a
Right.
while, so and has some expensive experience with bureaucracy. We're so bureaucratic, that should be helpful. But mostly he's very familiar with the Grove, of course, and is willing to, lend his experience and time to the town. So this is just the alternate position, but as Bob, I'm sure Georgette and I explained, the alternate more often than not, far more often than not, moves into being a full member often sooner than you might have anticipated. So. Okay, any questions? So this is once again, it's 2 appointments: Jeff McLaren to the full member, and Bob Kristen to the alternate.
Mhm.
All right, so we're gonna have I need a vote of confidence in the mayor's appointments, basically. All in favor?
This is Barbara, so moved.
Yep. Peter second, or whatever. We still only
Yeah.
have 4 members. Oh, there's Eva, she's here.
Yeah.
Great. All in favor then?
Yeah, I've been here since 8.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good for you. There's a lot. You know how many people I have? How many do I have? I have 33 connections. Yeah. All in favor?
Yeah.
Okay. Opposed? All right, you guys. Thanks, Bob, for coming. You can stay and watch the fun. Or participate in the fun, of course. All right, next item on the agenda is the Comprehensive Roadwork 2024, for which we put out an RFP, and to which we got 3 responses by the deadline today. And they were from F.O. Day, from M.T. Laney, and from Ross. I don't know the full name of Ross, I've forgotten. And because this is virtual, we can't open them at the meeting, so we opened them. And I have put together a spreadsheet showing the bidding. And I hope this is going, you're going to have to pay attention to this once I put it up there for you to see, so you understand. Let me just remind everyone, the RFP had areas A through K identified around town for road work of smaller or lesser extent. And the bidders were asked to bid on A through K, through J. But these numbers don't make sense. And I think I had the lettering wrong. Don't worry about it. We're asked to bid on a bunch of them, and 3 of them, which is shown here in the spreadsheet down at the bottom, indicated that we would like a suggestion as to what to do about these areas, since it wasn't clear that either, because several were root damage to the pavement, and we don't want to damage the trees in any work we do, and the other one, the depression on Johnson Alley, is really the problem. The rest of Johnson Alley is kind of a lower priority paving situation. So how do we fix the depression? What would they recommend? We haven't talked to any of the contractors about their answer to that. F.O. Day, I think, actually put in a number for all 3 of these. But I don't even want to consider adding that to this at this time, because we need to consider the cost to the environment, to trees, and to Johnson Alley to doing the work. So what we have then are these other 10 areas, and what I've done is they've been ordered here. They're not A through I think it is. No, J, A through J. I've ordered them by my assessment, and I think Peter's assessment is included. Mine had to include more areas. As to what were the priority areas if we couldn't do them all. So we can't do them all because here are the bids. You can see the day bids, the Laney bids, and the Ross bids. And Laney's for all the work was the lowest at $143,000. And our budget, if we combine this year, which we're coming up to the end of, and next year, 40,000 each year, is 80,000. So there's no way, even with the lowest total, that we can do all of the work using without breaking the budget. And the fact is that many of these areas were included because they look like they would be, let me start over. They didn't immediately need attention, but they were clearly the areas that were seem to be going to need attention the soonest. So with that preamble, I divided them up into three categories. The highest priority, which you're seeing in yellow, and I've listed it, I've ordered at the top. The well, they end up here at the top. And I probably should move this one now. Let me move this one. Here. What happened? Okay. Then there are two that are kind of the second priority, which I would define as, if we don't do it this year, it's not crucial they be done this year. And whether we do them the following year, or which would now be 2 years, depends on the rate of deterioration. And lastly, the last three again are even less of a priority. They're in gray. All right, so all of this is to try and figure out how far our money, what can we do the priority work, and how much of it with the funds we have budgeted. And so the shown in red are the low bids for each of these areas and who had the low bids. You'll note multiple, in some cases multiple, are red because they're within 10% of each other. And, well, yes, we could go by strict dollars. In awarding this contract, these guys, I think Day requested a minimum of $40,000 in work. So if they're close, and we want to be sure we give enough work, we may want to just consider the higher bid as equivalent to the slightly lower bid. And you'll see that quite close. Here's one where they don't differ by about $1,500 and what have you. So what I've done is taken these high priority guys and looked at the low bidders and come up with a proposal I want to recommend. Here is what you see is I've checked off these 6 to award to do that work. And if we do those 6 at the lowest bids, and that it's basically 2 of the contractors, the days are all higher, except you can see where they are close to one of the others. If we do that, we end up expending this 42,700 plus 18,525 which is down here, 61,225. Not the entire 80,000. So, and let me just make a comment on that. The daylily repair, the bid was for doing all of daylily from Washington Grove Lane to the end. Actually, much of daylily from Washington Grove Lane, at least half, it probably is in the category of the other two categories. It's certainly nothing wrong with the road today, and maybe something wrong with it after another winter or problem. So we could consider partially paving daylily, which would mean less of a cost for these 6 items. The point is that we have 18,775 left if we do all of daylily. And so to add one of these next priority, the next priority, which is Grove Road from Woodward Park to Brown. Okay. That the low bid is 26,000. So if we took 26, we would go over 80,000. You with me? Here it is down here by 7,000. That's this calculation. But if we only do partial daylily, we can bring that back into within the budget. And pending talking to the contractor awarded the daylily portion, which here would be Laney. I don't see why they wouldn't be perfectly okay with doing 30% or 50% of the road. Then we can add in the Grove Road from Woodward Park to Brown Street by Laney. So it's basically they get the money one way or the other. They just do the work here. So that's what I'm proposing to do, is to award to discuss with them and award 28,500 of the work to Ross. In basically in three areas: Hickory Road up to the turnaround. That's actually only a portion of Hickory Road, about 100 plus feet. Chestnut Road, Macaulay to about halfway down Chestnut toward Acorn. Macaulay to Wade. Acorn Way to Wade Park, which is virtually the remainder of Macaulay that we didn't pave the last time.
Hey, John, it's Acorn Lane. Can we get that right in there?
I love to call it Acorn Way. Why? Can I call it Acorn Way? I've done that repeatedly.
I know.
I don't know why.
I want you to look good, man.
Found and determined to do it that way. We should change the name.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And Hickory Road at Oak, the intersection is got a multiple crumbling portions, the corners in particular, 3 of the 4 corners. Hickory Road at Railroad Street, right at Railroad Street, the pavement has completely crumbled away, and right where the cars turn right. Yeah. So that's my proposal for spending our 80, close to the $80,000 we have available. I will point out that Ross included in their bid the putting in the stop lines that would be obliterated. So in the case of Acorn Lane, of course, there's a stop line at Macaulay, which would have to be. This is a small matter, but actually you have to pay for it if it's not in this bid. The stop line. All right, I've said a lot, and I know it's
John. Okay, so I think that having worked with you just a very little bit on this, you squeezed in 2 ones that I really wanted to get done. I think you did a great. I didn't think you could actually use 2 contractors, but if you can, I think this is great what you came up with. And I am happy to make the motion to approve the funding for these 2 companies as you.
Okay, thank you, Peter. That
This,
is helpful, but anybody else cares to, weigh
Well, I
in?
just made a motion, so. if
yeah,
it's second-
this is Barbara. I second.
Thanks, Barbara.
Okay,
Okay, now we can talk.
all right. Anybody else have anything to say about this? I will comment, as I commented when we created this RFP, the roads in town are in remarkably good shape compared to the last time we looked at this. There was definitely some things that really needed attention. Here, there are a few of these are, yes, it's time to do them, but large portions of the roads are in great shape. And I give an example: the Brown Street from Maple Road to just past Maple Avenue. The real issue is really right at Maple Road and a little bit at Maple Avenue, but it's small. And if normally in the past, we would have just patched that area. I mean, just done a very small bit, but it's not bad enough to do it immediately. And that's the story all around town, mostly. And this is my opinion. Anybody with different opinions, is welcome to weigh in. And we did ask for all kinds of, any of the residents to make suggestions where they thought road work was needed. We got a few. Several, although one of those is here on Locust Lane, where this route is causing a problem, roadway. I'm sure we can fix that without damaging the route, and it probably doesn't involve grinding any of the existing pavement, just putting some new pavement, not on the road. So yeah, we got those suggestions.
So this is Barbara, and I just want to say I agree with Peter that you did really, this is all very creative.
Yeah.
You did these little buckets and made it all work, and got the most bang for our buck out of it. So I think it looks really great.
Okay. All right, we don't need to beat a dead horse. Anybody else? Okay, all in favor of the plan I outlined for you all? That's 5-0. Thank you. Great. We can move on, and we'll try and get these contracts, not try, we will get these contracts executed before the end of this fiscal year. All right. Next item is the Renewable Energy Conversion Incentive Pilot Program, which the council authorized for 1 year. It was proposed in June, and it was basically endorsed in August. But this should be hopefully a non-controversial issue. I can show you that was done by resolution. And the resolution was in the materials that I put together because it just required modifying last year's resolution. So obviously I'm going to ask somebody to introduce this, but let me just explain in advance what there, it should be visible. Make sure you can read it. Yeah, so I won't show the last year's, but highlighted is what's new for this one. Anything not highlighted is from last year's. And it says, whereas the mayor and town council established the pilot program incentives in 24 in order, always good to have to incentivize the conversion to sustainable heating and cooling systems, renewable energy, and electric vehicles in an effort to reduce the town's carbon footprint. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and town council approve continuation of the pilot program in order to further evaluate the uptake and effectiveness of the program in meeting this goal. Further resolved that it go for a period of a year ending June 30th of 2025. And according to the program description, which is attached to the resolution, it's exactly the same as last year. And that it will be funded with $20,000, which is what the town approved in the coming year's budget. So that's the resolution. I do want to just comment. Well, I'd like somebody to introduce this in a second, maybe. I'm assuming the council, somebody on the council's in favor of.
Yeah, I'll move to approve this resolution.
I'll second Mary.
Good, Eva's gonna keep peace in the household.
Well, and I do see that people are using this program, and I'll also just put in a little plug that now Paul is going to people's houses to help them fill out the paperwork if they're having trouble doing it online. So we may have even more people taking advantage of it without the barrier of trying to figure out the paperwork on their own. So it seems like people are using it and interested, and it will continue to do good.
Right, and that's all, it's currently the first year, but nothing's gonna be completed in time. It'll have to be in the next year.
And watching the committee, an amazing amount of effort and energy goes into getting people, helping people through this process and keeping it going. So the committee has done an amazing job with this program, I think.
Okay, right, all right, so somebody, so you introduced it, who second, Mary seconded? Is there further discussion on the renewal of this program?
Yeah, this is Barbara. Just a little tweak towards the very end of it. It says it will initially be funded, but this is the second year, so I think you need to take out initially.
Be funded, of course.
There you go. Yeah, good catch.
Right, and I at this point, I do want to comment, nothing prevents the council, well, at the request of the Sustainability Committee, of tweaking the program, because the key thing is that the program description and operation are found in appendixes A and B. So that's part of the resolution. So the council could make changes to it, but were an argument made that they would make sense. But for now, it continues just as it is today. Any other comments?
No.
All right, all in favor of renewing this program? Looks like unanimous. Thanks, everybody. Getting that taken care of. All right, now, the next item is a piece of old business. It's old business because it was new business last time. And that is some proposed changes to the guidelines to provide for proper governance of Washington Grove committees. And I'm going to show that when I get it up here somehow. Providing for governance. And this was you'll recall that Barbara and Marilyn Frey and I offered to put this together at the last meeting, and this is the outcome of that. I think for the purposes of referring to it, I think I'd like it to be introduced as a new resolution, so we can talk about the 2024 guidelines to committees and put the 2019 in the record books only. All right, so hopefully you guys had a chance to look at it. The first thing it says is that it revises the former one. Barbara, you want to go through this? I don't need to be the one talking about everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. Some of these were just tweaks like mayor and town council. Oh, in fact, wait a minute. I see now the first line is a little bit of a boo-boo, whereas the mayor and town of Washington Grove. Oh, no, that's right. Never mind. I'm sorry. Yeah, so it's just about, it came up that there were discussions about who could lead the committees and vote on the committees, and this really just addresses that. I don't know. So some of it is just, we say the mayor and town council, that was just kind of to clean it up, talking about the town policies, the committees, there's just a little bit more cleanup there. and this is more of the key part, voting
Mhm.
members should be town residents.
Mhm.
And then in E, non-residents should not hold leadership positions. And then the last sentence here, that was a kind of like an awkward thing from the previous resolution. So I just cleaned that up. Elected town officials should not serve as committee officers. There was one other that was forwarded to me today that in the last whereas, let's see. Okay, yeah, in the last whereas, the word recommended be removed to establish certain best practices.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
doesn't really mean much, right?
So, I'd move to introduce this.
Oh, I'll second it. I think it's great. I think that there was a lot of confusion and concern about there wasn't clarity about who can be members or who can vote and everything else. And I think this is really helpful as far as providing that clarity to the town. I think it reflects what a lot of people are looking for.
I do need to make a comment just because we're constantly revisiting whether or not these committees are actually official town, conducting official town business.
Mhm.
And the answer is, and this the original recommendation, the original guidelines from 2019 were carefully recognize the fact that the committees should be entirely volunteer. So nobody's being appointed in any of these committees. No chairs are being appointed. No members are being appointed. They're all volunteers. And I don't need to tell you guys, the town has operated very effectively for years with this system. Some committees have been around a long time. Forest, they by different name, but the Woods Committee has been around a long time. The Lake Committee's been around a long time. There have been resolutions which have directed, have not directed, but have provided resources to the committees for their activities. I still maintain the best way to look at them is that they are our volunteer staff, and the town, in fact, enters into a contract, not a formal contract, but we agree that we recognize certain committees as providing the town valuable advice and or valuable services in maintaining facilities. And that's their charge, and that's the service they bring, and we recognize that, the council recognizes that. And as a consequence, we have in the budget funds that reflect the needs of those committees to provide the services that the town has recognized as being valuable to the town. So it's kind of like a contractor without a formal contract. And we've maintained that this resolution, the original resolution, and this one is called guidelines, basically because there's the council wanted to ensure that all the committees that we recognize operate in a way that encourages the most volunteerism. Nobody's paid, so they have to be donating their time, and many people in town are not interested in getting on an official organized committee like our work groups or the planning commission or the HPC, where there's a good deal more rules, etc. but the council felt that the committee should follow certain procedures that would enhance and protect volunteerism. So that's what this is all about. And the latest, this latest version is exactly in that vein. You know, there was concern that, you know, if we have a committee involved in town business and serving the town, that it be people who live in the town that guide their recommendations or their work or their activities. And so this kind of is added that, you know, basically, I think in my view, the council is saying, you know, operate this way, and we can continue to have a very useful relationship, and we will continue to support and recognize your contributions. So I'm sure I can say that in a better way, and some of you would say it in a different way, but that's the way, basically the way we view this. You know, I will repeat now as frequently as it comes up. Authorizations to spend money. It is the committees do not have authority to spend money in any way that is unless it is approved spending, but both in the town's budgeting process and by the treasurer and or by me or the council. So, or in the case of, you know, proposals that would impact, you know, are beyond, you know, providing food for a you know, music weekend, but you know, something that would alter the facilities around town, then the council would be involved in listening to the recommendations and you know, approving what the activities were. Okay, I'm done. I'm gonna let the council talk first. I see Patty has her hand up, but we'll have to see if anyone else has anything to say about this. Go ahead. Anyone?
This is Barbara. I just want to say a lot of when we talked last time, there was a lot of discussion about, you know, the expenditure of funds, you know, which you just mentioned, John. But the committees, you know, with their recommendations, they really use a lot of town resources when many people in town discuss something that's being proposed. So it's not just financial resources, it's kind of like the time and attention of town residents as well. And so that's why we want to make sure that those decisions and those recommendations are made by town residents.
Okay.
Okay, if nobody has any other comments, I'll let Patty. Patty, go ahead.
Would you mind?
I
putting
do. Paula does
share
too, after
screen?
Patty, please.
Oh, sorry, Patty.
Sorry,
I mean, sorry, Paul.
that's okay.
No
Can you just
problem.
share your screen again. I wanted to point to one of the edits.
Oh,
It's a very
sure.
nicely edited document. Let me lower my hand, get that out of the way first. I can do that. Very good. Go to the top. The first whereas. Okay, let me see. Okay, so in the sentence, the mayor, I guess, comma, town of Washington Grove and town council, blah, 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 benefit from volunteer citizen committees. And other places in the whereas section, you talk specifically about town residents. So I just want to be clear that the committee should be comprised of town residents, some of whom may be officers, and, you know, the members can vote. It doesn't mean, or does not negate that they are open meetings in general, right? The town committees have open meetings and other people can participate. So I just want to be a little clear on the language in that first sentence. Do we mean volunteer town resident or volunteer citizen committees that are comprised of town residents? Because you say that in the other section. So I just want to be clear. Who is a member of the town committee?
Well, this, I don't think this speaks to the members of the committee. It's a whereas we have benefited from volunteer Are you saying we shouldn't include
Okay.
citizen about everybody?
No, I'm just
Hey,
being clear on the words. If you go to the next whereas, it says recognize number of such committees of volunteer residents. So I just want to make sure the language is consistent. That's all, that it is open to other folks who want to attend our town committee meetings, but I wanted to be a little clear that we're talking about town residents that are the members of the committee and also have voting privileges.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I think that's what the
Okay.
I mean, all the whereases are just rationales. You know, and the description was to what the actual resolution is about. The resolution now states quite clearly that voting members should be town residents.
Mhm.
Right,
That
that's
does
correct.
not
So
mean there
people,
can't be other members.
Mhm.
I
okay,
don't think anywhere we say anything about only town residents may be members.
well, is that the clarification? Are we saying that only town residents can be members of the committees?
I don't think so. I don't think anywhere it says that.
Okay, that would be part of my suggestion, is because again, you know, we're expending town funds on recommendations from committees. Those are tax dollars that all of us pay. Other people can always attend our committee meetings from wherever they come from, you know, whatever part of the world they are. That's fine, it's an open meeting, but I worry particularly about the voting and how the committees are established. It is about our town decisions, and I just want to be careful that
Okay,
we
thank
have
you.
proper representation on
All
the
right, Patty, I think we
committees.
understand what you're
That's
saying.
okay.
Pam, any comments on that?
Thank you, I appreciate it. It's nicely edited. I just wanted to give you that comment.
No.
All right, Paula, I think you're next up.
Since this was thought about because of RACIX having non-residents on the committee, I can understand a legitimate discussion about voting members and spending town money. I get that. That makes sense. What I don't understand, well, before I get into that, can you define what that one line about best practices? Where do the best practices come from? Was that attached to the Open Meetings Act?
Sure where that is. So.
There's just a reference that sounded kind of vague, but maybe it was attached
Yeah.
to that.
No, I don't think, yeah, so just,
What?
I see where it is, and I believe, doggone, if I can get it back up, would be helpful. Yeah, I think the way it's worded, that these guidelines are the best practices.
Oh, okay. Okay,
That
so
would make more
would-
sense.
To establish
Yeah.
certain best practices, so this
Yeah.
is establishing best practices.
Okay, okay. And so I guess my only objection is non-residents being, well, what I understood Patty to say, maybe I didn't understand it right, was that then non-residents would not be able to actually participate in any, they would be able to attend but not really participate. Is that wrong or not?
This
Was
is
that
Barbara. This
correct?
doesn't exclude anyone from participating on the committee. This is about the leadership and the voting.
Yeah, well, the leadership, restricting non-residents from leadership roles, I do not understand, because we have had the experience at RACIC where non-residents have provided, have shaped policies through ideas and perspectives that enrich us, because many people have talked about how the town resists change and how it's pretty insular. And so especially on a committee like RACIC, other perspectives are really helpful in shaping policy. And if you want to say, okay, they can't be voting members, you know, that's up to you. I understand that can be a legitimate discussion. So the policy can be voted down, but I do not understand restricting them from leadership positions where we can gain different perspectives, and we have, and where some non-residents have really given of their time generously in order to help shape very positive policies. So I don't understand the restriction on leadership positions when, you know, the policy could be voted down if it's not preferred. I mean, we need all the perspectives we can get, especially on that committee.
So let me just state something that is the case for a number of boards of organizations, foundations, nonprofit that I have been on, and actually that I'm currently on, and that is that that the participation of individuals are invited to participate, who bring to the committees of the organization expertise that's valuable to the organization. So we explicitly enable those individuals who are interested in helping out the organization to participate on committees and to help the committee do its business. And that may be something, you know, really specific, like financial expertise. It could be something like event expertise, that sort of thing. So it's not, you know, this is, I think, consistent with the way what you expressed, that allowing and encouraging even non-residents to participate on the committees is probably a very valuable thing. I would agree is a valuable thing. And maybe I started here, you're still looking at this, thinking that maybe we need another whereas that that specifically acknowledges that non-residents will be can be valuable to the committee business, and you know, it should be encouraged. That would basically make explicit what I think the discussion started with Patty's point, is what is there a role for non-residents on the town's committees? So by acknowledging there is a role, and then the resolution goes on to say, but non-residents are not to be voting members and should not be in the leadership position. So I mean, I'm only making a suggestion that would make explicit that non-residents are welcome on the committees.
Yeah, because it really seems like nobody wants, but like there is a move just to kick off all non-residents.
No, I don't think that was, well.
No, that's not what this is about at all.
Okay. Okay, then that does make sense. Okay, that does make sense to at least, if you're going to restrict leadership positions, to at least make it clear that non-residents are welcome and encouraged to participate and offer ideas and perspectives.
Yes, okay, that's good.
I asked for clarification.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, John. Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
I just, are people who are renting, it looked like at one place, I can't see the whole document, but it looked like it said property owners in one place, but residents in many other places. What about people who rent houses in town? Might be long-term renters or short-term renters, or they're not it's not, that I didn't see the word
This-
renting, so.
No, there's no
uh,
renters in, this is Barbara. There's nothing about renters in here. It talks about residents. Residence is the term that's used most often in here. So if they rent here, they're a resident.
Did you see the term property owners?
I see it here, yeah,
I
but
saw
but
it
this-
somewhere.
I now have it. It's got a slash to make equivalent residents and property owners.
right. So they could be
Okay.
either one.
Okay, good. Okay, okay, very good. Thank you. That was my question. Thanks.
Right. And just as I think a matter of,
Hmm.
from my point of view, the residency requirement in the state of Maryland or in Montgomery County is very short. You're considered a resident after what, 30 days or something like that? I'm not certain what the number is, but that would probably, I would certainly be the same here in town. So you become a resident, whether you're a renter or not, you're still a resident. If you've been here more than what if you've been here the requisite number of weeks. So I think that also bears on your point, Ann.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
I don't think it would exclude someone who has a longer rental, longer than whatever that time period is. All right, I was trying to put together a new whereas to clarify this, and I'm not there yet. The town volunteer committees in the town, whereas, this is going to have a whereas in front of it, just to make that clear. Whereas town volunteer committees in the town benefit from the participation of non-residents. And Paul,
Perspective and ideas.
You made a statement about.
Yeah, something about benefit and are encouraged to participate to offer their perspective and ideas. Their perspectives and ideas.
Forgive me for over speaking, but you can include that in the whereas that's above that. You don't need to have a separate.
Okay, let me just get it down first. And we can.
Okay, I'm just saying you may combine the two.
And yeah, may and committees may encourage
their perspectives and ideas.
Okay, their
I think it needs a separate whereas because that really isn't clear at all to me that they're welcome at all from everything else.
Well, you say it's not clear, this is Barbara, you say it's not clear that they're welcome, but you do have non-residents on your committee who have been welcomed. So how
No,
would
I'm
that?
talking about this resolution. I'm just talking about that.
But the resolution doesn't change anything that was in place
Well, it
regarding
does.
non-resident
No, it-
participation before.
Yeah, and it's just talking
No.
about leadership positions and voting. It's not
Right,
saying
so
they
it does
should
change.
participate. Yes.
It
just
does
says they
change
should.
on our committee
Right.
though, in terms of
does.
leadership positions,
True.
that there are changes. It is restricting.
Yes.
So I think that we need to make that very clear there, since this is going to obviously be much more restrictive.
If I might make a comment, if you go to the whereas above that, you can just say non-residents to volunteer their energy, perspectives, ideas, and expertise to benefit the town by participating on these committees. Period. You've now combined the two and you haven't lost any of the value. But
Right.
it seems to me it's redundant to have a second one. This is a resolution about town committees. That's the focus. Who is on them is.
What's the problem with the separate whereas? Why is
Because
this
it's
going
not
to be
necess-
such a fight?
Let me explain. I just explained, you can
I
combine
don't get it.
them and make it more concise without having to be repetitious. You're saying that you want residents and non-residents to volunteer their energy, their perspectives, ideas, and expertise, all four, to the benefit of the town. That's what this is about, the benefit to the town. So you really don't need to say it twice. Because that's what the second one,
The second one is
the
specifically
same
talking
thing.
about non-residents.
So does the other one, says residents and non-residents volunteer their energy, their perspective, their ideas, and their expertise. You are combining them into the same single one.
But what I'm
the
trying to
same
say
idea.
is
John,
that
John, I have a
different
procedural question here.
perspectives.
I have a procedural question here.
There we go.
This is a town council meeting, and we are town councilors who
Yes.
are responsible for drafting these resolutions, making the motions, considering any edits, and voting on them. And we have now a group of 36 people who are now writing this resolution. I suggest that we stop right now. We leave this open for a month. And then anybody who has a suggestion can send it to us in writing. We can consider it. And during the next meeting, we can decide which of these edits we want to include in this. This is really out of order, which this idea of adding these comments just because somebody's calling them out. So that is my suggestion, that we hold on this until next month. People can write their comments to us and we can consider them and include the ones that we feel should be included next month.
Right. But there's also a motion, there's a motion out there, correct?
Yeah, well, it can wait. We can
Well,
hold the
somebody
vote
has to
on
with-
this.
you're gonna withdraw
No,
it.
no, no, we can hold the vote on this until the next meeting or until I mean, we don't have to vote on this just because there was a motion tonight. We don't have to vote tonight.
Right, right. I agree.
And
I
in
know, I think
fact-
you're totally, I agree with you 100%. This is getting out of control.
Right, and in fact, with all of these changes that people are wanting to put in,
Yeah.
it would not be a good idea to vote on it tonight because we should have some time to think about it and sleep on it and chew on
Okay.
it. So that is my suggestion, that we stop now, and anybody who wants to make comment, send it in writing to us, and we consider it and potentially include it if we agree that it should be included. John?
So will that be said to the community about making comments? Where will that be announced, that people are free to do that?
People are always free to do that.
I know,
People
but
are
I'm
always free to
making it
comment
clear
on-
that this is open, this particular thing is open.
Yes, it'll be in the
Clear.
minutes. It'll be in the minutes that was the decision that was made.
It'll also be in the bulletin. We use the bulletin
Thank
to
you.
report actions of the council.
Gretchen and Richard have had their hand up for about a half
So John,
hour.
are you agreeable to that procedure?
That's a very good suggestion. I wish I'd pursued that right off the top. I had no
Yes.
idea we would get into a further discussion. I mean, it's perfectly possible for other suggestions to be made with respecting guidelines. So it's appropriate for us to introduce this, discuss the reasons for the way it's written at the introduction, and now to allow a month at least to go by for comment on this resolution.
Okay.
Okay, so we got a couple of comments still, I see, Gretchen and.
But I'm suggesting that they are held
Right.
because it's not fair to go along with a couple of people and maybe there's 10 other people who just didn't put their hand up yet. So let's stop.
Yeah.
This is really
Right.
not a good way to run a meeting.
I think you were objecting. We either take it today or we take it next month. People making, this is the public appearance on this issue. Now, we can do it at the next meeting, or we can just have them make their comments tonight. We're no longer wordsmithing. I think there's been an agreement to defer a vote, and we're going to call this item deferred, not deferred, but continued after these last two comments. So Gretchen, go ahead.
Thank you. I wonder about how and where this resolution came up. I know that Paula has said that it seems to be timed around RASIC, but since it's an amendment to all committees, I wondered if you could tell me what other committees have had some issues where this might have come up, or is it just RASIC that's being singled out? Are there other committees that have had issues of comments or leadership roles or votes taken by non-resident members? I'd really like to know the motivation.
I don't think there have been other committees with non-resident members. I think this came up from other issues on another committee a few years ago, but as far as I know, there haven't been very many committees that have non-town residents participating, but this resolution was drafted a few years ago in sort of response to how committees are run and how leadership roles are chosen, but it didn't have anything to do with non-resident participation.
So in fact, it's something that is being raised because there's a discomfort what's going on in Racing.
There's a discomfort going on with non-residents playing
And it seems that the only non-resident
role in a committee. Yes. And
the only non-resident we've had so far is the person on RACIC.
It's an issue that now it's become a concern to the council because it's a concern to town residents. I mean, there was a history to this. This didn't come out of nowhere.
I think it's important to acknowledge that history in our public forum here. That this is something that is involving a non-resident on a committee, and of course that person happens to be both female and Black.
No, and it's absolutely nothing to do with that. You are the only person to even suggest that.
Totally unfair.
Well,
I actually take offense to even mentioning that fact because it is irrelevant. And it's not, I don't even want to go there. The idea that you see something discriminatory in this, it just, I mean, if that's the way you look at these actions, I cannot respond. Tell you the truth.
Right. I mean, would you be, Gretchen, if you went to another community and jumped into a committee or tried to be on a homeowners association where you don't live, would you feel that you should be expected to be able to make decisions for that community if you didn't live there? I mean,
I can't say that I've thought it through that carefully.
No,
but what I can say is that it never came up until now. And I want to make sure that we're all clear of why it came up and of what the circumstances were. And I
don't
just
think
want
there have been other non-residents on other committees.
And I wish you wouldn't
until
interrupt
now.
me.
I'm sorry.
So I have a question for you, Gretchen. Are you accusing the town council of coming up with this resolution simply because there's a Black woman on one of our committees? Is that what you're saying?
No, I was asking if there were other precedents that caused this. Although I will say, in attending a good number of meetings, I have seen this person cut off, and I have seen this person criticized.
I'm sorry.
And I have seen our own mayor say that she didn't know what she was doing. And so I simply feel that the record should reflect that.
Thank you. This is a forum, so you've said your piece. Richard, which Richard are we talking about here?
This is Dick Kavicki. The thing I'd like to, I don't have much to say. It's going to be quick. There was a non-resident. Gretchen, can you turn your volume off?
Yeah.
There were two non-residents that started RACIC. My daughter, Julia Kavicki, and Sita Strother. They actually started the committee. They were in leadership role for the first year of it. They were given a town award for their leadership role on the committee, and it was not a problem for anybody. And they were non-residents, both of them. My daughter lives in Brattleboro. This happened during the aftermath of George Floyd. So to say that we aren't singling somebody out because we don't like what she has to say and maybe we don't like what she looks like, I think that's something we should raise here. That's all I have to say.
All right, let's move on.
All right. Any other comments about business? If not, we're going to publicize that we're accepting comments on this resolution to be revisited at the next council meeting. All right, now we come to the, this is old business still. This is the DEI training proposal from RASIC. There was some questions raised, mostly there were suggestions to the proposal that was in front of the council. We received a modified proposal from RASIC. I want to say at the outset here, propose to the council that we consider this additional discussion on the DEI education and training proposal, but that there seems to have been a good deal of research going on as to what sort of training and education is available or could be applied, and that we may need additional time. Well, actually, not may, we almost certainly need additional time to further explore that. So I only say that by way of explanation that I hope that the council will agree to kind of a time limit for this discussion, and then to continue it at a subsequent meeting, which will allow, I think, for the further research and additional consideration of RASIC's proposal. All right, with that preamble, I'm going to let Paula, who's here. Sorry, Barbara.
Yeah, this is where I just would like to just flesh out a little bit that we have been looking at other options. Leadership Montgomery, there's a DEI specialist in the area who I've been in contact with to get recommendations for consultants. I know, John, you've been following up with somebody. So I think I'm happy to hear anything that that Paula has to say about this, whatever she changed to her proposal. But I think that we should not act on anything tonight because we are going to have more information coming in. So I just want to make sure that we, hold the door open to make sure that when we do make a decision, it's one that has considered the various options.
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready? Paula, do you want to just review the sort of the updated recommendation, if you will?
Well, yeah, I can. All right, I guess the main thing is we have done our due diligence in terms of following up on additional consultants, and everything is in the updated report and the results of that. Initially, the people who started this research took a look at 4 consultants, and summaries about why they weren't chosen is on the last page of the updated recommendation. We followed up on the MML suggestion, the consultants they referred us to. It was obviously not at all appropriate. They do an 8-week program that is, let's see, how much was it? That per person was $2,500, and they do it mostly for agencies. We looked at the University of Maryland Office of Diversity of Inclusion, and although they occasionally offer webinars to the public, they are not offering them at this time. We looked at the Heartwork Collective, which Eva suggested, and there were some positive things about them, but they seem to be pretty only foundational. They started out working with students, and they work with students a lot still. So they provide foundational concepts, but it seemed like they were less able to customize and go beyond that. Whereas the 2 that have been chosen seem more able to start out foundationally, customize, and then go beyond according to wherever the conversations take us. We did see that Heartworks, though, had another skill, which is facilitating mediated conversations. And we are considering using them in the future for that. So, I mean, there were some positive things about that. So, I guess my question is, you know, altogether, was research on 8 consultants, which is which is one more than the road work RFPs. And we don't even require an RFP. So I'm just a little confused about why there is no faith in the research that we've done in the council. I mean, you talk about energy that's expended. The council is now doing their own research about this. And I feel that we're perfectly qualified to look for consultants, and we provided information and why we think those 2 are the best. So I've never seen someone submit information about 8 consultants and then have the council say that they want to look at more. So I'm a bit confused about that. Otherwise, everything is in the updated proposal, and you know, I can answer any questions that you have. I know I appreciated Chris looked very carefully at the update, and he had some questions. So I don't know if you want to entertain those.
Well, I just really wanted you to review how you had altered your proposal. I know there's.
Well,
Yeah.
One thing that happened. What? Did somebody else say something? Oh, okay. So one alteration is that there would be before the individual assessments were done, there would be a development of metrics and qualitative and quantitative to measure the success of the program. So that was one thing that was added. And even though that's being talked about as a pilot, we still would like the people who do that to serve as models. And Mary made a very good suggestion the last time about trying to use people who take those individual assessments to think about how they could be used with the community work. And so that's added under pilot program. Set up a pilot program with a limited number of community members to take an individual assessment and engage in conversations about their results and strategies for using what they've learned to positively impact the community for the collective work. And so that was added to make sure that we include them for the larger community work. Let's see. Oh, the other thing that was added, and this was after the conversation with the council the last time, was to explore charging a small percentage of the cost for the individual assessments, taking the assessment, which follows a model of the summer camp program that's heavily subsidized by Washington Grove to decrease the financial impact. So that was something that was added because people talked about how expensive the individual assessment was for a few people. The other thing, we were asked to provide information about Nawar, and there was more information about him. That doesn't affect the whole plan, but you asked for that, and so that was provided. So we have tried to take the suggestions and use them for the 2 that we still feel offer the best proposition for the resolutions, individual work and collective work. So those were the additions, those were the changes.
All right. I don't want to put Chris necessarily on the spot, but he did a more.
Oh, well, I can answer a couple things that I saw that he wrote if you
Why,
want.
why don't we let him
Okay.
turn his commentary on the proposal
Okay.
into a verbal questions and which you may want to address. Chris?
Well, yeah, thank you. So, I wouldn't have sent this out if we weren't planning on really discussing this and eventually voting on this, I guess. And because, and I didn't realize that we were, there are other council members that were looking into, and even the mayor looking into other facets of potential training opportunities. So, I'm willing to wait. I mean, you have my comments and questions if you'd like. I mean, we could even do it offline instead of trying to extend the length of this meeting. I'm fine with that.
I just want to make maybe a higher level comment, a comment on a level of the proposal. So I think the proposal is split, if you look at it and parse it into individual DEI training and community issues in DEI education. And I'm just going to throw out my point of view. The proposals to engage in individual training exercise, and mind you, this all when I say that it's anyone. It's those who are interested in it. Nobody's going to be. So far, we're not talking about requiring anybody to undergo some sort of training thing, which, by the way, does happen in companies and other organizations. They have required exposure to DEI issues and training. So I believe that the discussion would best proceed not to break down what we've gotten from RASIC into that aimed at individual awareness and individual biases and just understanding one's own situation and maybe a better understanding that of others, and the community type education where I think the limited well, I think that one of the main things we took from the survey, mind you, nobody agree. Everybody mostly agrees. It's not a statistical it's not a statistical representation of all of Washington Grove, but it suggested that there was a significant, at least in the responders, a significant appearance of discrimination in town. And if one doesn't quibble with that terribly much, then it's clear that as a whole, the community and those interested in following up on this idea, this situation, would benefit from some sort of community level opportunity to improve awareness as individuals in the community, relating to the community what sort of bias there is. So there's those two aspects, and the one, they have different financial underpinnings, and obviously they, one would be an offering that is broadly offered, and the other, because of the maybe the interest in assessing an initial effort at doing a small group individual sessions would only be directed at a test group, or at least a smaller group. Does that make, I'm just saying that because it's hard to discuss this if we don't clearly distinguish what sort of education and training, what the goal of the training is. And if we agree on which one we're talking about, maybe there's another one, or I didn't state it quite well, but somebody else can state it better, then I think we can arrive at a better understanding of as to whether and how to go forward. So
I think this thing has become very confusing as to what we're doing right now.
Right now,
yeah.
we've agreed to discuss what's in front of us. We've agreed to not take any action and expect to, I think, expect to get find out what sort of additional availability there is for the kind of training, the two sorts that I tried to distinguish. And which BASIC explored is available. So I don't want to, this is all any focus that we get is based on their efforts. So no one is. I'm certainly not criticizing their efforts whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Would it be helpful to put up the proposal? I guess I'm kind of with Peter of like, well, what are we talking about right now? What's the goal of this discussion? I mean, we talked about this proposal last time, and we told RASIC to come back to us with more research, and they have. So, but we've already decided we're not going to vote on it. And I mean, I think they do have reasoning, and that's why. Well, and I guess I can pull it up myself, but maybe we should look at it together. But I mean, I hear what Paul is saying. Like they've done a lot of research. This is their area of expertise. I guess I'm not clear. Like what more are we doing here? Like I mean, that's fine. We can wait to vote on it. But what are we hoping to gain in the meantime? And I heard that Barbara said we're still maybe waiting to hear back about some other.
Yeah, so the people who we've reached out to are more local. So, people who might be a little more familiar with the area, people who are not, who live in the area, who don't have to travel to get here, from across the country.
Okay, so
people who are recommended by people who have used them in this area. That's what we're trying to
So I guess it sounds like we're waiting to get some more information, hear back from some other options. So I guess I'm wondering, so what are we discussing now? Like, should we just wait and see what more information we get? And I mean, I'll say that like it seems like RASIC has done a lot of research. I like the addition of the individual assessments potentially being more like a individuals pay a little bit and it's subsidized by the town. I think that could maybe alleviate some people's concern about that. So yeah, I guess I just feel like, okay, well, I'm not really sure what we have to discuss here. Maybe we need to just wait until we get the rest of the information. Unless I don't know, am I wrong? Like, is there something else to discuss?
Yeah, that's what I agree. That's what I'm hearing, Eva, is exactly that.
But in terms of the individual training, though, I think, and Paul, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the reason RASIC has focused on that is because of the initial resolution, which specifically said individual and community. Because I mean, I have some concerns in terms of, you know, the individual training, but I think that the reason that that was included is in the spirit of what the initial resolution was. So when we're
Yeah.
considering both of them, I think that's why that was.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
By the
yeah,
way,
and
this-
that makes
yeah.
sense to me too.
This-
I know it's in the
yeah.
spirit of the resolution. Yeah.
All right, this, I think Paula mentioned this last time. I have 50 years of being in the training industry with some of the top companies in the world, including American Management. And as Paula said, training is not a good word to describe this. And that's, I think that's a key thing, is mindset. But this is very complicated. It's a very complicated program. To make it successful, it is going to be very expensive. And we have to really think that through as far as what kind of commitment the town's going to make, or if individuals feel that personal commitment that they're willing to pay that price themselves. So, I mean, there's things that we really have to think through before we just jump into this.
Can I ask Paula, how are you going to arrive at the metrics? Because I would think that would be a kind of a key part of this, is if we're going into a pilot, that to have what the goals are, and how are you going to do
To
that?
work with the consultants, to work together with the consultants and statisticians and whoever else wants to take a look, council members can, and we will arrive at that. But we have to talk to the consultants about that too.
So that's part of why you're having the consultants, is to set up those goals, and
those are the
and how you're going to measure them.
Yeah. The premium, yeah, those are the premium things. And Peter, I think that's right about the training part, because that is a bad word, because that could imply to people, and I think that was another problem with our messaging, as it has been all along. I've been joking that we need a PR firm, but yeah, the thing is that could imply to some people that that we are pointing fingers, and that we're saying that you really need this. But I just wish people could understand the baseline is that we all need it, because this is where we've all been inundated with this, and that's one of the reasons that RACIC leadership wants to participate in it.
Right, it's educate, not train. You train dogs, right? You educate people. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and we all could use it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is Chris, and I did have a lot of comments on the proposal, and I guess you know the question I have, and for everybody here and the other town councilors, right, is you know, Peter, you said that it's going to be pretty expensive. So are we saying that Washington Grove is off the scale terrible? Or, you know, in other words, you know, when you take a look at the others, and that's what we're trying to find, I think, is looking at the surrounding communities, you know, Rockville, Gaithersburg, wherever, and other entities within Maryland, for example, and try to get a handle on what it is that they're doing, you know, and instead of, I guess the problem I have is, if we're building this entire assessment, education, training, whatever you want to call it, if we're building all of that on, and that's what I was trying to get at, you know, during the last town council meeting, my first one. You know, if we're building all of this based on the data that we got out of that survey, right? You know, at best, you're looking at like a 70% confidence level in that survey. Okay. So, you know, I think that if you take for what it's worth, there's an indicator there. Sure. There's, you know, that there is an issue. But how big is that issue? You know, how many people are actually involved? We don't know. Or maybe you do. I don't know, by looking at that survey data. So, you know, at this point, when you say it's going to be expensive, what do you base that on? I guess I'm at a loss, and I think that's where we're trying to gather more data to see what the surrounding communities are doing, and then to see what is out there and available, right?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
First of all, you know, if we talk about other governments, they have whole offices of diversity, inclusion, equity. They have complete offices where they have staff who do this all the time. They pay staff to do this on a regular basis. So we are a small municipality. We can't have an office of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So the best we can offer is this. And let's take a look at our whole budget. I mean, is this really a lot when we look at our whole budget? I mean, come on.
So I'm sorry, Paula, but that was one of my questions. If you take a look at the, you know, the questions that I submitted, you know, if we want to go to your proposal, you know, what is your intended, you know, overall expected budget? You know, expectations towards the ultimate proposed budget for this project. I mean, what is it that you're looking at? What do you think?
I don't, you know, like I've said before, we're talking about people. We're talking about evolving conversations. We're not talking about knowing that we need a set number of trees and they will cost this much. The budget can be developed. We're asking for this initial amount. It can be continued to be developed after the assessment and after the group education, and then we'll have a better idea of what's needed and wanted. It doesn't have to come from this year's budget. This will be an evolution to find out what's needed and wanted. We can't just say, here's an endpoint because we want 20 trees right now and 15 over here, or predict how many trees are dying to replace them. I mean, we're talking about people, we're talking about ideas. We have to see where it goes, you know? So it really, it's squishier, I get that, but you know, you cannot really do that.
You know, I guess, yeah, I hear where you're coming from, and it all depends. Some people, you know, some people could be, you know, lifelong, you know, hardheads, I guess, you know, and difficult to try to work with, to try to educate, if that's the word that we're using now. But you know, we still, so that's the other thing is, you know, we talked about this the other day, you know, what are you bounding this to? We're trying to be inclusive. Are we going to include all the other neighbors? And then I heard, no, we're not. Well, you know, that, you know, then, so if that's the case, and then we say there's 500 people in town, you know, you could bound that to say a lot of them are going to be kids, and you could whittle that down to say 300, right? And then if you're looking at trying to educate 300 people, then you get a ballpark estimate, you know, if we're not going to go outside the town, right? And that's what I'm getting at is, you know, we really, what you're proposing is like limitless. And that's my concern, you know? What is the ultimate proposed budget for this project? Where are you going to say enough's enough and we're going to stop and we're good to go? That's where your metrics come into play. And you need to understand, we need to understand, I need to understand where you're coming from, and then how you're developing the processes and thoughts, I guess, and from point A to point B. That's what I'm trying to get.
All right. Okay. First of all,
wait a second. You're not going to answer it tonight because you're not going to answer that tonight because I suggest we're out of time on this matter. Already agreed to resume in July 8th with whatever new information, plus whatever. I would suggest that a very cogent list of questions that are concerns of the council be assembled. Chris has just clearly stated at least one of his, and that is, you know, what is the financial commitment to for the process, the education process for individuals? And that doesn't mean the town's going to fund it. It just means we recognize what the sequence of commitment will be. The current commitment is limited because of the limited funds, but the ultimate commitment, or not commitment, but the ultimate extension has consequences. So what are the financial consequences? That's one. The other is, I'm sure the council wants, it it would be very helpful to have a very cogent explanation of the outcome of the training. What is the outcome? Maybe that outcome is all individual. I mean, whatever it is, it should be clearly enunciated. I think it would be very helpful if it's enunciated, so that we can stop asking that question and start considering, you know, what exact, you know, can we go ahead and, you know, authorize engagement of a consultant to pursue it. Same with the community education. This is not a commentary on the individual you suggested. It's just a commentary on, you know, the expectations for the education that's proposed. And maybe it's in there, Paula, and excuse me,
Yeah.
I haven't grasped it, but I think the questions are continually coming back to those, you know, these few basic, you know, questions. If we can agree on the answer to that, or at least have them to discuss, we would shortcut, you know, some of the what appears to be an amorphous discussion. You know, somebody can propose an action. I propose that we approve RASIC hiring X, Y, and Z. That is a specific proposal, but nobody's made that yet. And to the extent to which you're frustrated with the nature of the discussion, you can always propose something like that if you can get it supported. So, but moving on till next month, we've all agreed on that. Hopefully this has cleared the air somewhat.
May I ask one question, please, before we move on? So you're saying that the council will send RASIC specific questions. Is that correct?
I believe that the council, that we should identify as close to a comprehensive list of kind of questions you've been getting here in the last.
Okay, and so you will give those to RASIC like several weeks before the meeting, correct?
Yeah, of course. Otherwise,
yeah. And then can I please ask you then, if you're going to be looking at other consultants, that you all answer those same questions for the consultants that you are going to find?
Exactly it. You put your finger on the very point. This is how you evaluate who is going to provide.
Okay, so you will provide the others and the answers to the questions and give us the questions also. Okay.
Well, yes, more or less.
More or less. More or less.
I wish it was that systematic, but maybe we can be that systematic.
All right. Well.
Okay. So with that, we are moving along on the agenda. We're on to new business. As I introduced at the beginning when we approved the agenda, there was a significant interest in including from council members to consider amending the town's charter to allow more flexibility in scheduling our annual election and the town meeting, so that it might not be late in the evening, or it could extend longer without losing everybody, you know, everybody falling asleep, et cetera, et cetera. So this is proposed. There's been a little bit of work to create language for that. I can tell you that the process for changing the charter is rather simpler than the process for a zoning text amendment that we just did for the ADU thing. You do it by resolution. A resolution is proposed that alters the charter. We then have to do the usual announcements. We have to do the usual public hearing. Yes. I'm not sure about the public hearing, but there's some announcement requirements, and then the matter is voted on, and of course the state has to be informed. Blah blah. So it's not a formidable task, but I think there will be a proposal. There may be a proposal coming up to add that flexibility to our charter. I think tonight we don't have such a thing, and there's no point really in discussing it without at least a proposal in front of you. So if we conclude that that new business, which will become old business, and go on to the town council reports, which were available to everyone. I've picked out a few things just to note. There's plenty more in there. This is always
Yes.
very personal, not personal, but what I think are worth mentioning here in the meeting. But lots of other information, and anyone interested should certainly read the reports, if you only read the ones you're interested in. So with respect to the rec committee, Summer in the Parks, Eva has, I think she's directing it or co-directing it.
Moderator is the correct term. Moderator is the correct term.
Moderator, whatever. And with those efforts, they have 25 registered candidates. Close the program. That seems
Yeah.
plenty for the program. For the weeks, which are indicated, it was July 8th through August 1st, weekdays. From the Planning Commission, from Peter, the Planning Commission has agreed that that changing our existing ordinances that restrict uses at the commercial corner should be examined, and consideration regarding the types of businesses allowed and potential residential use at the commercial corner be considered. So they will be doing that. I'll just add in parentheses, this is part and parcel of working with the property owner to renovate the property, of course. We've already seen a conceptual, one possible conceptual that for that sort of a renovation. Also from Peter on maintenance.
Wait. We have to back up for the planning commission. You left out the most important thing, that we re-elected our chairwoman.
Georgette. Yeah, I thought that was a foregone conclusion.
Oh.
Just because
Well,
I know the other four members were you're not allowed. The other members were all lobbying heavily to become chairman. So
yeah, right.
Right, Georgette has been really very good. Thank you, Georgette, for being willing to herd the cats here. Okay, in maintenance, one item I just thought was of note was that RJ Landscapers, our contractor, prioritized working here in town to clean up after the recent storm, where the tornado did a huge amount of tree and whatever damage in the near Old Town. So that that's they have certainly taken their prioritized their responsibilities for the town. That's great. Either that or Peter threatened them. I don't know. Yeah, just the forestry and beautification report from Barbara. This, of course, is the season when the new trees were planted. 12 canopy trees of low, medium, categorized as low, medium, and tall or large, were planted in early May, and several areas on Grove Avenue were cleared of invasive bush honeysuckle, and they're now working on deciding what to replace them and how to keep it from growing back, since it's not so easy to remove with one whack. And lastly, of note, regarding the website from Barbara, the recordings of the 2024 annual meeting and the recent town council meetings are now available on YouTube. They can be reached easily from our town website due to Christine Dibble's efforts. And the intention is to continue to post recordings of these meetings and make them available. There's also a lot of other updates to the website, so you can go and see the other work that's been done. Okay, so that's my of note. Anybody else is now welcome to mention anything they wish to do on their reports.
John, I would just like to, I haven't thought this through, but the way we do minutes in the town, I know there's probably not an answer to this, but just that we could think about if there's any way with technology, if there's a way for us to get a summary of all the meetings out to the residents sooner, because like I have on a number of times gone to the website trying to find out information from committees, and we are so far behind on our minutes. And you know, there is technology out there, so I'm not saying we talk about it tonight, but I just think it would be nice if we think about if there's a way for us to somehow.
We have thought
get this
about
out.
it, Peter, actually, probably just before you joined the council.
Yeah.
Christine, we have discussed, and we actually came up with a framework for doing that,
Mhm.
which would put the responsibility for committee minutes on the committee and allow them to post them in a place
Mhm.
where, you know, there would be a link and they post them. It's like a Google Doc thing. And their responsibility would all fall on those producing the minutes.
Mhm.
But we haven't implemented it. So your point, you know, I suggest rather than go through me, you talk to Christine about that. Double.
No. All right. Georgette's
I
gonna
will.
say
I
something.
will if you want, but I can't.
No, it's not. But it's not. Christine can't do it. It's got to be.
No, no, she needs to set up needs to set it up on the website so that.
She does a great job. Yeah.
Christine has set that up.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
she's not going to
exactly.
do it. I wouldn't even begin to saddle anybody with doing that.
No, no, there's
no, yeah.
she put links on
Mhm.
each committee's webpage for
Mhm.
you to click on to go to a Google Doc site where their agendas
Google
and minutes
folder.
are.
Mhm.
And most of them are up to date or pretty up to date, last time I looked.
If you look on the if you look on the web, I'm looking at 3 months trying to. It's not on there for the minutes, unless I'm in the minutes section. But
All right,
maybe that's something we
guys,
can look
let's
at.
come back
Yeah.
to that. Let's come
All
back.
right, well, when we look at maybe when we look at guidelines for committees, we'll also consider this. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right, that's it. Next meeting is July 8th. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay?
I'll
Yes.
motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second. Let's go.
Adjourn. Thanks, everybody.
Good night,
All right,
everybody.
good night, everybody.